warm there, so we'll sit next to you. Sunshine. Oh,
I didn't have an extra one for Dave.
okay. Well, that people are while you're up, you might as well quick got it.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Are we muted?
We are still muted, you are
We should
correct.
have meeting outside in the park.
Are we muted or aren't we? We're not muted, it's the other one that's muted, which is what it's supposed to be. Okay.
Okay, so I'll have to show that to you then, okay? So.
Yeah, well, I printed it out just since that was, I figured the update, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll call the September 22 infrastructure meeting to order at 1:01. Okay, we have all trustees in attendance, and then we have our Chris Holton, DPW superintendent, and water operator Dave here for our water discussion later. Are there any additions or revisions to the agenda? Okay. Some of the updates, I believe, are going to be pretty quick, but I want to keep carrying them on the agenda so we don't forget. Or I don't forget, rather. Okay, then correspondence. We had one yesterday from David Brigham on Old Mill Pond and the health of the stream. It is in the Dropbox for those that would like to see it, as well as the attachments that he had. Did anybody else have correspondence for infrastructure?
No.
Okay. Okay, then we're to our first public comment. If we have anyone in Zoom that would like to comment, please unmute yourself. And it doesn't look like it out there. And then we do have public here, but you're already on the agenda, so we'll wait for that. Okay, the next thing we have is new business. The first thing here is the public parking car charger discussion. Okay, and I typed up some information just so people have something to look at to understand, so it wasn't just what was this going to be. The car chargers in the parking lot on Wakazu Street were put in, as you guys know better than me, a number of years ago, and Northport Energy was paying for that electricity for a number of years, but that was, I think, a 5-year term or something. That has ended, and the usage is steadily increasing, which is very good, but the cost is covered by us. And that was brought up in finance as an issue of how are we going to cover this, and it's probably only going to increase. So for the public, in 2021, the month of August, it was $78.82. In 2022, it was $282.05, and in August 2023, it was $394.69. Now that electric bill, my understanding from Joni is that it also does have the street lights on Wakazu in that bill. However, that means that when it was $78.82, the street lights were in that, and I highly doubt that the street lights are increasing in cost. I think most of this is the usage of the electric car chargers. And in finance, the discussion was maybe we need to start charging people, but I'm not sure if the units we have can be converted to that, or if it would require new units. I know I talked to Bill in the marina, and the electric charger that's coming there that isn't usable yet but is installed and will be eventually, that cost was paid by the company and is going to be reimbursed with people's fees until they've recouped costs, and only then will the village make money on it. So I don't know if we should look into, obviously we need to look into it further, and I just didn't know what people's thoughts were.
Well, that's if you want to change them.
Right, correct,
well,
exactly.
I suggested back when they first put them in 2020, that in exchange for a sign maybe this big that businesses could sponsor and say, you know, the electricity brought to you by, you know, North Shore Outfitters, and then that business would, you know, it's getting to be a little expensive. Back when it was $78, I was like, yeah, I'll do that all day.
Right, and this is per month, so I mean, like the summer was 12 around.
Yeah, but it's going to go way down in the other
yes,
months.
it absolutely is. But I mean, just the summer months, it's almost 1,200.
Yeah, but we might have a color tour group too, so.
Pardon?
He's saying color tour might bring more tourists and it
Yeah.
still could be higher.
Yeah, a little bit.
I just think also we have to think long-term and.
Well, I'm thinking if you can just defray the cost down, like if, so for $1,000 a year, the business gets to, do that. And that's, if you look at, well, we really need more data on the whole year, because it's gonna be way, way less in the winter.
Yeah,
And it's too bad the streetlights are hooked into, we gotta pay that anyway, so.
I know.
You have to break it out and do a separate metering, it was gonna be not
Yeah.
very cost effective.
Yeah, no, I get it. We can sort of guess that the streetlights are probably about $75.
Well, have you ever seen any units that like require a credit card
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
they're all over the
super
country. You do it with your
to?
phone.
I mean, and Cindy and Joni were saying that people call fairly regularly asking how much it costs so that they have an idea and that they're usually surprised that it's free. So,
But
They're not
in
offering
every
what's
case,
left.
like you're saying, we probably have to get new units.
I mean, I don't know, but that's what Jane thought, and I'm not an expert on this, which is why I wanted to bring it and have the discussion.
I think, it's very possible they could just add a module onto the existing thing that would take the Bluetooth payment from
You
your.
just go and scan it and
Yeah.
off you go.
Yeah, you gotta call the charging companies. I guess my idea of sponsoring them, it's gotten to be kind of prohibitive for most of the, I don't know if anybody really wants.
I also think that while that is nice, I mean, that means that we have to do work to be sure we have sponsors covering it, otherwise the village has the bill,
Yeah,
So, I don't know, are you willing at all to?
no, I
look
was,
and
but
see
now it's
what-
getting to be.
No, I mean, not to be the sponsor, to look and see what
Yeah, I
would
can
be
try to,
involved in converting them or
And see
swapping
what-
them.
See what average
I know that
costs are.
when I tried to get a hold of Tesla, when somebody said one of their machines
Yeah.
wasn't working, it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no humans available.
Mhm.
I mean, I can try,
Okay.
at least for the other one.
Yeah, and what I'll do is, I already had wanted to see if Joni could run the numbers, but it was just finance last week that she told us that
Yeah, it's getting
about
expensive.
this, and so she didn't have time to pull a whole year's worth of numbers, so I was like, just pull the recent month.
Another route we could go maybe is just get a hold of Northport Energy and see if they know anything.
Yeah, they could probably be very, I did, actually. But I think Joe DeForest could be probably pretty helpful, because they were all about getting them put in. I mean, they
Yeah.
was really easy to get
Well,
put
and
in.
I'm sure he'll be thrilled to hear that the usage is way up.
Yeah.
It's just that the budget definitely did not anticipate that electric bill going up by that much, so it's gonna be over in that.
I've been in contact with Doug McGinnis concerning the wind turbine, so maybe I'll be talking to him again next week.
Okay, see if he has anything too.
That's not on the agenda, but what's going on? Oh, that's NLTUI, we'll talk about that. We should put that on the agenda,
Well,
though.
yeah, but it also includes,
Do you have a one sentence as to what's going on there?
you gotta get it cleaned up, where we landed is the fact that they will furnish a dumpster. I said we would commit our time as a DPW to cut up the blades
Mm-hmm.
and dispose of that. He's got somebody from
Indiana?
Ohio, Northern
Yeah.
Ohio, to look at what could be salvaged in the turbine.
Yeah, that guy called me.
Yeah, so, and then, there's
Okay.
extensive
All
damage.
right, we're on the
Yeah,
agenda.
yeah,
so.
there is.
So anyhow, I committed that we could clean up some of it
Okay.
if they provide
Yeah.
the receptacle, so.
Okay, so I'll work on getting more data on the full year cost for the chargers in the parking lot. And if you wanna try to connect with Northport Energy or wherever to see any info that you can get so that we can have thoughts on how we can go forward with that. So, okay, cool. Then, next up is the site plan and parking discussion for 102 and 106 Mill Street. We have Lisa here as a representative of the new owner, Clayton.
Ben Clayton?
Ben
Yeah,
Clayton,
Ben and
yeah. And they presented at Planning Commission this week, Wednesday, with just preliminary, not an actual full site plan review. They don't have the whole thing together. Just looking so that they can get ideas and direction on what way to go before they commit to it, and then don't have information. Sorry, I see a note from Ann. says you can contact Bay Area Recycling for charity donation of the wind turbine scrap. So, anyway, so Lisa was presenting the vision to planning, and some of the issues they have is with parking, which Planning Commission does have the ability to waive parking requirements and things of that nature. However, because they have 3 rentals for residents in the building, they are still wanting to discuss parking and see what things could be. And planning would like to have some direction from infrastructure based on what they had proposed and what people's thoughts were here on infrastructure due to the fact that it's on a main road, there's snow plowing, street parking, all these different factors. So if you want to go ahead, Lisa. Yeah.
Right, is it possible to pull this one up on the screen?
On the
or does
screen,
it-
I am not sure
It's
that we
not?
can,
If
but
not-
it is in the Dropbox. So
Okay.
Ann and Barbara, if you were able to locate the infrastructure Dropbox for this month, we do have the documents that she is going to be presenting here in that Dropbox to look at. So,
Yeah, I could leave this on the table or
Yeah,
something.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of helpful because it has an overview of the other properties.
so the properties 102 and 106 is Pennington and Studio 106, and the carport in between for those
Right.
that are unfamiliar.
I live across the street.
Yes.
You do, okay.
Yes.
But what are you changing? Because this is.
That's what she's gonna do right now, explain.
Oh, okay.
You can hold on to that if
Okay.
anyone else wants to see
Sure.
it. I'm an architect for SBS Architecture in Suttons Bay, and I'm working on this project with Acquaintance. And Bennington, this is Studio 106, and one of the things that we're proposing to do is infill the carport area with a nice storefront that's fitting with the downtown area in a traditional style that's more, that matches what's along this street right here. The problem with that is this is part of this parcel 106 right here, and they have 2 cars parked in, and sometimes they say 4. I'm not sure you can get that many in there, but there is off-street parking that's being used by the tenants of above Pennington, and then also the tenants of 106. And so we were exploring some other alternatives. If we get rid of these, the only access into his site is right here off 2nd Street into this back area with a creek right there. So we were looking at options of maybe working with Eagle to get a culvert or access over the creek right here, and put some parking back here. But one of the options we would like to potentially explore and talk to you about is providing 3 spots parking facing in on this side of the creek. And you can see the space right there a little more. And it does help to go see it too. I went back there and parked and I measured it. And we're not asking for that many spots. I was showing that many just so there could be, which would be nice too. But I measured from the stakes that are out there. And Bart's Bakery does come past it. And I measured out to the pavement edge and it's 28 feet. And the parking requirement for a parking space is 10 by 20 deep. So there's even some extra space off the property to the pavement edge in order to get three in a row right here, and possibly a couple more, but I know it's on the side of this house.
That would be in the street right away?
It's in the street right away.
Yeah, and the owner would pay for whatever is required to do that. And one thing we'd like to do if there is parking there is work with Eagle for a footbridge instead and have some nice landscape area and access to the backyard, that you're leaving more green space back here doing that. And it's fairly flat. He might have to put maybe a little bit of a retaining wall if you wanted it to be more flat, just to separate where you park and walk in front of the cars, to get over a bridge. But that's something we will explore if it's even a possibility. So right now we're wondering, is that something that we could look at?
Well, as a street administrator in Grand Pier, my concern, 2nd Street is a tight corridor. That's very, you have no parking on the north side due to the incline, And on that side, it's just a real congested area. Then what does that leave? Now, I know for historically that the bakery employees park back
Oh, they do park down
there.
there.
Yes,
Okay,
there's that dumpster, and then they
Yeah.
park downstream from that.
okay.
And I think that it'd be very, very congested there with that parking. So I definitely got some concerns. I was thinking of that.
Well, and I think that the alternative, if they were to put a drive-in and use green space for parking, I think that would probably be incredibly challenging to get approved with you. I mean, I can't
To go across
imagine.
that creek?
Yeah, to go across the creek for parking. I mean, I'm just not sure
Yeah.
that that's very realistic
Yeah.
either. I'm not sure that,
So they can't, you can't access the property coming up Naganaba, to the east of Pennington. There's, their property's right
No.
tight,
Yeah,
it's right tight against, what's his name?
Yeah.
It's just,
Swift.
it's like this.
Okay.
That's a weird looking
which
property
Swift
line.
has a new
Yeah,
site plan
it's-
coming in
it's
too.
right there.
Yeah, because Swift is gonna be doing construction also. Yeah, so it's coming to planning, so.
That's gonna make it difficult.
Yeah, at first blush, it really, that would be.
And one of the things
Removing
that,
a tree, you'd
that-
have to remove trees.
and one of the things that planning did talk about is obviously we are not, planning commission was not opposed to having that filled in and have it become a retail space. In fact, that is very appealing because we're working to increase density in the core district and continue street walls, so there aren't all these breaks and curb cuts and all of these things. The core district, the new requirements for parking that have not been approved yet but are coming soon, are removing parking requirements for the core district. So it's not that people are opposed to that on planning, per se, but the concern is definitely that they're residences and they have to park somewhere. And if you are parking on the street, that's fine in the summer, but what do you do in the winter?
Yeah.
When it's on M201 for plowing?
If they enclose that, that's probably going to add 2 more parking spots in front of it.
Yeah,
It'd require, yeah, I mean, if they're
on the street.
Yes.
Yeah, because
yeah,
that's
they're
100
removing
feet.
them from the carport. Now, the other thing, right, Dave, historically, like Tom Capen's apartment, the wintertime, the tenants, we used to have I guess, a kind of a running understanding, they park down the marina. Right. And off the street, because he doesn't have off-street parking either.
One is the visitor center parking lot, public parking that could be used too, because that's closer, isn't it?
Yeah, that'd be right
Yeah.
down Second Street.
Because that's right, the visitor center's
Right
at the
on
end
down.
of the street.
Of this street?
Yep,
Yep.
and the
Oh,
second street.
okay,
And there's a parking lot there,
okay.
yeah.
Some people use the township parking area too.
The township parking,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
which is the township building, just a
Yeah.
couple down from there. So,
So- Northport's okay with the renters of the residential park, like continuously in those spots?
in the visitors lots.
Okay.
I think the main thing though is that the street parking definitely can't be 24 hours of cars sitting there in the winter if it's on the main street. But if it's in a parking lot, obviously at some point it's gonna move and you
Yeah,
can
but-
plow around it.
What's the zoning requirement for, is there one for, so if there's.
For
if those are-
residential, you are, right now, currently, zoning says that if it's a residence, you have to have at least a parking space per residence, which is why that parking is there in the first place, I'm sure. The new that's coming to council as soon as Wade Trim gives it to us, because it's in its complete final draft, and I don't think there's anything different happening, says that the core doesn't have parking requirements.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, then that's gonna solve your problem.
assuming it gets approved as is, yes. Yeah.
The only problem is gonna be, like you're saying, is in the winter.
Yeah, because they're still gonna have to be sure that people aren't parking on the street in the winter, because if that happens, that's gonna be an issue, because it's a main road and road commission plows that, the county
We could
does.
put a couple
So-
of parking spots in Will's front yard.
Yeah, if the price is right.
She said they pay for it.
So you're not allowed to park on these two edges in the winter?
Not overnight.
Not overnight. You can,
Okay.
in the daytime, but not overnight.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
why he was saying the arrangement with some other places that have residences about is that they move their cars to the marina at nighttime.
Okay.
But again, the marina is a little further. I mean, the visitor center parking lot in the winter typically does not have people parked in it. There's not usually, I don't even know, are they
Usually stacked
open in the
well.
winter?
No,
Yeah, I didn't think so. The visitor center
we
isn't even
put
open.
snow down there.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
But
That's
we
why I
can
wasn't sure.
Work around that.
Does it get
I mean, it would be
plowed?
easier to work around
Pardon
that
me?
than parking spots in the right of way, I think.
Do we plow it?
Yeah, does it get plowed in the winter? Okay.
Yeah, that's what he was saying is, right now, what they do is they use, that's one of the places they put snow when they're plowing the other
We
parking
stack
lots.
up on the northeast corner, but, again, if it was parking and people were moving during the daytime, that's how we
Could work
kind of
around it.
work
Okay.
around it, so.
What
Yeah, but
about the library?
Well, there's that
Post
also,
office? Would that be somewhere people could
The
park?
post office is privately owned, they have a small
okay.
corridor in that alley between
Okay.
the post office and library that is resident parking. It's kind of a funky area,
It is.
and then there's the other house that butts up against it,
Yeah,
and, yeah,
right here.
that could be torn down, made into a parking lot.
Expensive one.
So, but, there's a couple different options, but I gotta say, at first blush, this on that street is just too tight. That's just awful tight, because we're talking about kind of getting off topic, but the concern with uncaged, we were gonna put no parking signs on the north side of that, because it just closes, it chokes it, and the emergency service is gonna get down. So, that would eat up a lot of real estate. Wow.
That was.
It was just to
I was
show
showing how
space.
many
Especially
could,
if it's
but we were only asking for 3 really.
Yeah.
I do think though too, that, I mean, it would be at least 2 parking spots in the front that would open up on the street.
Yeah, that's, it's a net
It's
zero.
100 feet goes to there.
Yeah. No, it's two.
Because you've got the clearance on either side. The number of parking spots that'll increase in front of it if it was closed off and didn't have to be a driveway.
What would you get in 100 feet free?
That one section is 100 foot though. How much is that one section?
100 foot usually, I mean, end to end, you're talking 22 per space,
Yeah.
So you can get at least 4.
potentially. So you could gain 4 to 5, but that was left. That
It
became
became
retail,
whole, yeah.
and then
Yeah, I see,
that
yeah.
barred out area would, so, at least 3 to 4.
Yeah.
Little picture.
Yeah, because it would allow you to reconfigure the,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure the street spots are 20 feet long though, are they?
Wow.
22.
They're 22, okay. Because her little cars are 10 by 20. 'cause
These
that's
are
what the
20,
zoning
but
said.
Okay.
But
I say 22, that's what we
they're
try to
a little bit more, so there's
Being out
one.
22 is the
See if you have a spot.
Yeah. But he would be able to reconfigure, because right now it doesn't start right at the edge of the drive probably, because there's supposed to be some clearance either side, which I think it has.
And yellow lines.
The yellow lines extend a little bit beyond the.
There's not room for angle braking.
No.
Probably not.
No. So,
welcome to Northport.
Yeah. anyway.
So.
Well, it's not gonna be a problem other than during the winter, after it's what, 6 or 8 or whatever.
Well, we basically have it from 2 AM to 8 AM on this one, and, or 3 AM, but I thought we got that changed to 2 AM, actually, so. Because if we get heavy snow, we're out a little earlier.
Yeah.
So, essentially overnight.
Yeah, I think one other thing too that's a consideration is that in planning, she had mentioned that the parking spots, they would want them to be designated, and the street parking wouldn't be designated. So the renters would have to understand that they're just gonna get the parking spot they get, and if it's all full, then
Yeah.
they're gonna have to hike it or whatever. So I think that's a consideration for.
Well, the business owners may not really want the tenants parking right in front of the business.
Correct, I would
I don't
imagine
let
they
Polly
don't.
park anywhere near my business, it's like part of.
There is other complications here too. Because if they enclose that, the egress for the Pennington shop and the egress for the apartment back here,
Yeah,
how would they get
how
out
do you
of
access that?
I didn't follow.
He's saying the
Yeah, if we enclose this carport, right now, that's how you access in here and then into this apartment.
Well, we'll be working that out.
Yeah, that's an architect.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, there'll be egress out of all of that through the back as a secondary.
okay. Yeah, because this is, there is,
It's over the
Butts right
line,
up.
probably, yeah.
yeah. Well,
I guess they can work it out.
yeah,
Well, if that's helpful, I think the
Yeah.
answer is not the parking on Second Street, but then,
Unfortunately,
but I think that, so far
There's other ways
planning,
around, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so far planning was already, as you, saw, I think everybody was pretty willing to waive parking if necessary, just as long as we knew where the parking was gonna happen in the winter for the tenants, which I think if you talk to Ben and
Sean, yeah.
that they, as long as they're willing for their tenants to understand and deal with that workaround, I think that probably would be the way to proceed right now.
Okay,
So, and then obviously you will still need to do site plan review with planning, as mentioned at planning, with all of the requirements that are for site plan review, which is, I think, Article 18.
okay,
So, yeah, which is a bunch of
So-
things, so.
okay, so potentially we can present a site plan that doesn't include any parking.
That's what I would say to go for right now,
Okay.
and then an
Okay.
explanation as to where you think people are gonna park in the winter.
Okay,
Either the visitor's lot or marina
township.
or the township parking lot, yeah.
okay, and do you expect the new zoning to be adopted?
Well, we've been working on it for 6 years,
Okay.
so, but,
Okay.
planning had wanted it to come back and be ready for, the stamp to village council at this last meeting. But Wade
Okay.
Trim, our consultant, didn't have it to us. And I guess the holdup is needing approval for additional funding, which is happening, it's on the village council agenda, I think this month, which is,
Okay.
not this month, but for October, so that's probably October 5th or something like that. So hopefully our next planning meeting will have it stamped to go to council, I assume November, and all of that is what we hope happens.
Okay, all right.
And then,
So-
there has to be a public hearing with village council looking at that and approving it, and there's a lot of changes. So hopefully soon,
Okay.
but I don't know for sure because I've been on planning since like 2021,
Yeah,
and we've been working on it that entire time. And they've
Okay.
already been working on it for 3 years, and every time was, let's turn it over as soon as we can. So
okay,
I do, however, know that it is completely finished from our standpoint, and I don't foresee that there's gonna be additional edits. It's just a matter of getting it back, so hopefully.
yeah. All right, so say we proceed and we get the site plan, we present it to planning commission and it's approved without any parking, will that make it a non-conforming property now then, or?
No, because when you go to planning, the things that they have the power to waive, they are allowed to waive.
Okay.
And then it's just,
So the way that they won't make it non-conforming.
right, it just carries with it as
Okay.
the approved site plan.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
So, yeah,
All right,
well,
so
thank you. Did you have anything else for us?
that was all.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, I didn't want to spend time and not explore other options if we weren't.
Yeah, I understand. You don't want to
Yeah,
invest a
I
lot in the
know.
plan and then find out it's not
Yeah.
gonna work.
So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for
Thank
coming.
you for presenting that.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yes, definitely. We look forward to it.
All right.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Then, next up is the DPW report. If it's on the agenda later, you don't need to worry about it yet, Chris, but if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, we just kind of broadly addressed what we've got on here, but on top of that, we'll get into water report 2 with Dave here.
Yep.
We had a visit from Jamie Wade, which is the DEQ Eagles representative, and it's our biannual visit. Usually comes around late this year, spring and fall, early this year, late, so. And, we've been kind of suffering through, Dave can elaborate more on these issues with SCADA, our SCADA system, which, I don't know.
What's a SCADA? Go back up. What's a SCADA?
SCADA is our remote readers for wells and
Right.
Okay.
the wells and tank talk to each other,
Right.
and we're able to monitor it 24/7.
Mhm.
And we got somewhat of an anomaly with this company, back up, ICI, Integrated Controls Incorporated.
Yeah.
Jay Norris, been with them for years. He said, this is a strange anomaly over here, how we get these power surges and whatnot. We have surge protectors, some pretty elaborate ones, and still the stuff got knocked out. So kind of formulated the plan, right? To put this together.
Yeah, Jay, I've been in constant communication with Jay, he's been up here a couple of times, he's frustrated because we're still, I mean, basically all the wells, all 3 wells are supposed to be able to talk to the tank. When the tank goes down to a certain level, a well kicks up and fills the tank up. Well, right now, the only well that's in communication with the tower is well number 3 over on Wing Street. The other 2 wells are non-communication. So, well 3 runs efficiently and runs when it's supposed to, so the tank always has plenty of water. But to try to give well 3 a break, I leave that off for the day. I turn, the other 2 wells on by hand, 4 or 5 hours a day, and, constantly checking the level of the tank because there's no SCADA to read what the tank level is. So that's kind of been the frustrating part. And Jay has, he's tried different things. He's to the point now where he's ordered some inexpensive radios to put at each well so they can communicate with each other. He's also putting together a price list to upgrade the whole system, so it would be more efficient and, less troubleshooting. So that's where we're at now. The radios, he said, should be here next week and should be installed next week. So that's the lower price, temporary Band-Aid fix. So we upgrade. I'm thinking probably we'll, be putting that in next year's budget to upgrade the entire system.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, because if something were to happen to well 3 right now,
yeah, then
you'd have to do everything
that
manual.
would be, do everything manual. What's nice right now is we're using less water. People are shutting off the irrigation, so even if the well doesn't kick on, there's 150,000 gallons of water in there, and that definitely gets us through the night, so.
Less demand, so, yeah. So as Dave said, that's something that's ongoing. So onward with, the report would be, you've got the letter from Robin Schmidt that Janik and I spoke with her, had a decent conversation. We've also talked with Chris Grobles. And again, I think that's the forestry side of things. The dam, what we're waiting for now is a reply back from Eagle and Robin Schmidt to how to proceed. So as the letter outlines what we intend to do, we're playing volleyball. It's in their court right now.
Yeah.
So she gives us a go ahead. We put the boards back in. We do our concrete repair. We're done.
Yep.
For now. So
Yep.
that's that. We've been doing some cleanup. Obviously, miscellaneous cleanup out on the soccer field road. We broadened that out for homecoming. There's a lot of olive that is kind of crept out, cleaned that up. Had the guys doing that today. And there was a tree that fell over during the heavy rain. So getting that area kind of cleaned up best we can. We're just, obviously coming into fall. Next week's Uncaged. So we got a lot of preparation for that. We're going to be getting those barricades from the county and using those in different locations with the normal layout also between trucks and heavy equipment.
Do you know if the Northport homecoming parade is happening that morning and what the path is?
I do.
You do?
That'd be,
Yeah. So that's happening and just going on for days.
Yeah, they're just trying to figure out who planned that one.
So Sutton's Bay says.
Sutton's Bay did it to us.
Sutton's Bay says
Thank
the
you.
homecoming day. Yeah.
So,
I have asked in detail.
Okay, what's gonna happen, just so you know, they're gonna come down Smith, go down Shovison, all the way to Naganaba, go up Naganaba to High Street across to Third Street, and then Third Street to the soccer field.
Yeah.
Stay the hell away from it.
Yeah, perfect.
What time is that, Rick?
9:30.
Yeah.
because we'll be shutting streets.
It's before outpage has to start.
Yeah, because they start at 11, but all the people, the vendors
Yeah,
are
we
coming
start
through and
shutting
setting
streets
up.
down at 6 a.m.
So that was my concern, because I was like, well, that's great that you can do it before,
I
but
always
are there
swore
gonna
they
be
did it in
people coming?
October, but yeah, been wrong before, so.
yeah, I think the reason they're overlapping is because of Uncaged, because of the extra Saturday, like in the month, because
Yeah.
normally there's 4 and there's 5 this month, and so I think that's
Yeah,
screwing
could
with
be.
everything.
We talked I think I brought to council, about this, the storm tower, the lights on that. And, it's a matter of timing, where we can get left to get down and do that. I think we still really want to proceed with that before
Yeah.
everything to be on
Yeah.
board. So there's that. Water retention, the rain garden, I met with Don Carpenter, Sarah Uren, and I can't think Kate, was with Sarah. And they have some excess funds left over from the project at the school. With that heavy rain we had, the school seemed to handle that quite well. It seemed to work real well. So we looked at some other places that maybe we could fix up. One of them is at the end of 2nd and Rose Street. On the north side, we have a drain there. They talked about doing a little bioswale retention area near that catch basin. Also down in the marina, where we just redid the parking lot, that green space, those 2 retention basins there, getting some plantings in there. A little bit more to define that area of what they are, instead of just being one grassy area. So they're gonna look at cost on that. This is all stuff I think won't happen until spring.
Yeah.
Then we circle obviously back to Wakazu at the Sky House, there, that's got the place. And they're gonna essentially get their drawings complete, and then submit those for spring letting and bids. Well, actually, probably winter, and then maybe a spring groundbreaking on that. So it seemed pretty productive, some good ideas going around. And on that note, I had contacted Molon. Excavating was down. We have some issues with the drainage in the marina parking lot. It's got one section of pipe, it's got a rise in it due to a conduit, and it's not as simple as digging out underneath it. It's hard piped. It's not the end of the world. I kind of took it upon myself to make a executive decision to leave it. We're going to open a whole can of worms there. It drains down. It doesn't drain as fast as it
It's not bad.
But after that 5 inches of rain or
Yeah.
4 inches, it dispersed and off we go. So while we had Molon here with the factor truck, we came up in the Naganaba. We're going to be getting a bill for that to do all the tree catch basins and the tree boxes.
Yeah.
It's something we need to do every other year. I think we missed it actually the last 2 years. It got kind of goofed up. So that's something we'll schedule and get into the current cost. But I think we did 8 or 9 total, and they really needed it because there were a lot of sediment built up in there. So we did that. Back to Rose Street culvert, and plus somebody's got some money somewhere.
Yeah, I have updates on those things, yeah.
Okay, and 4th Street drainage, I think last month I went down, dug a hole at the corner of 4th and Rose and Marshall Boynton's property, exposing the culvert, and really at this point, it is up to her as a property owner and a contractor to make this all work. Again, we're giving them an avenue. I think by all accounts, it will it'll help her out, and it will not, I don't think it's gonna overwhelm the system whatsoever down there. I mean, it's more than capable. that initial push, probably need more water, but after that, I think it's, I don't think we're gonna see a huge increase.
Yeah, the culvert was clear, obviously, that no
Yeah,
wonder.
so everything's working pretty good there. Hazard Beach, just gonna resubmit our plan for permitting. That's back to Jeff Fritzman. Claims he never got it.
Okay.
So there's that. Again, jumped around ahead of it, Old Mill Pond Dam, up to Robin. And sidewalk ordinance proposal, Lord, I have a map of the sidewalks, and I think
Yeah, I have that.
okay.
So, I can get to it.
We graded, kind of went through, almost did a taser system on the sidewalks years back, so we can update that.
Yeah.
And looking at that, what else do we got? Oh, just getting.
The welcome sign's all set, right?
Welcome signs all
Okay.
set.
Looks great.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Looks real good. Sherry Evers in today. Got it seeded 2 days ago. So really, I think our end of it's complete. We got 2 trees to put in yet, and we were looking at a Honeycrisp and 2 Honeycrisp.
No, Honeycrisp and another apple tree for pollen.
Okay.
And yeah, I've contacted them in landscaping. They still have some in stock, so I'll next week.
And are you able to utilize the tree committee funds for that, or is
Yeah.
it, yeah?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you guys know, but the tree committee has raised, Bob has raised since mid-June over $7,000. Yeah, so.
That's great.
He's the only committee that has a surplus. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Good write up in the paper, Bob.
Yeah.
yes, it is.
I have a question. The larger chunks of maple that they cut down, who's going to dispose of that?
Leonardo's, that is an MDOT contract, Leonardo's will be hauling those away. And if anybody else wants wood, the wood is up on this end, I know that Mike and Charlie Rogers, that's in Charlie Rogers, they'll take care of it, they want it. You get a little concerned about liability, letting people cut right away and, so on. But the big stuff, unless you got a big saw.
Yeah.
So they're scheduled to come back next week. I've been in touch with
Okay, good.
Ben and Leonardo, so they are on. We may have to assist them a little bit, but yeah, that big stuff's getting gone. And I just want to be clear for everybody out there is that this was not an easy decision. We talked to landowners, but unfortunately it was time. If you really took a close look at those trees, and we've got more to come that are just, they've reached their.
Well, and that's one of the things
They're
that
dead.
Bob also has been talking about, is that he's working to get a list of all the locations that are possible, so I'm sure he's talking to you guys. But yeah, he's hoping to get at least 40 to 50 locations so that he can be doing it every season, and they don't all die at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that if we can continue to,
Will Leonardo's of the MDOT do the stump removal too, or is that?
Well, that wasn't included in there. Therein lies the rub. Is that stump removal or grinding was not included in the and I asked MDOT, and they said, no, we will contract to take trees down. So that's probably gonna fall on us. The way I kind of look at it is, we get the better end of the deal, it's still gonna cost, but that was about a $10,000 contract to take those trees down.
Do we have to remove the stumps? I mean,
Some people, again, Charlie Rogers, they're fine with them.
yeah,
And I think maybe what we could do is, maybe do 1 a year. or something
Yeah,
yeah,
like
because you
that.
don't do them all at once.
No.
Especially if you have a plan for replanting,
Yeah,
and when that's coming closer, be sure that one's ground out.
yeah.
Yeah.
And generally, right, Dave, you don't want to replant
No,
in
you
that
can't.
same footprint, because
Yeah.
I don't think it'll let our mountains enough.
Spot, because you can't get rid of the entire stump.
Yeah,
Yeah,
unless you go in and excavate and
Right.
replant.
no.
So, anyhow, I've got two different companies that do stump grinding, get some prices and, move forward with that.
Yeah.
But, all in all, fortunately, but it should, at least we got our main concern was this public safety on some of those.
Oh, yeah, there's branches that are ready to go.
Oh, man. And we've been grousing about this for,
At least
Yeah.
5 years.
yeah, I was gonna say 3 to 5 years, so.
Ever since those ash trees
Yeah, so I feel better about that, and then, back to Hazard Beach, we'll submit that. We have a surplus of beautiful sand that we kind of swung a sweet deal with. It didn't cost us any time. Just staged on 7th Street. So I think we can utilize that going forward. And we've talked about it numerous times, and I think we need to really do like what Suns Bay has done. Let's put a couple piles there. Kids love them. And then it won't take them about a year to be level.
Yeah.
So that's what we got.
Do you have any update on the slide ends for South Beach?
They're here.
They're here.
Yeah, they
That's
are
right.
here.
They showed up.
Yep, they showed
Awesome.
up
Yep.
late last week.
Okay.
Yep. We gotta get the concrete out. That's right on that. So, yep.
Maybe,
Yeah, we got Friday.
maybe in the first part of this week or so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Here, and,
We should Friday. So those, some will try to get in before. Look like
For
weather.
winter?
Well, yeah, looks like weather's gonna be good next week.
Okay.
And maybe get those in for uncaged.
Well, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any update on the plow for the village truck?
It's,
Find one or?
it's in process.
Okay.
For the red dump truck, small
Yep.
truck. Yep. GTR's got that. We probably won't see it until probably mid-October, which is okay.
Yeah.
We'll take the truck up there and have it, and that's all included in that price of $11,363. So, our big truck, it's slowly waiting up in Point City.
Yeah, yep. And then was Chet able to help at all to get more info on doing the GIS mapping update or any connections for that?
No, in fact, no.
Okay.
We'll circle
Well, and
back
when
to that
Jim's
meeting.
back, once
Yeah.
Jim's here, yeah.
Yeah.
So I just want to be sure, so,
Let's see, he comes the first.
yes, he does. But he also said that he's available anytime for questions, but that's probably not the question to pose ahead of time.
We'll come back to that. We'll
So,
come back to that.
Yeah.
So, and the streetlight update, I've
Yeah.
got to call Doug DeYoung from Consumers and I have been playing phone tag a little bit. To be honest, I didn't have great luck with it at all, and I believe I blame my own incompetence. But then again, I found out ones that I was trying to switch did not have the module on.
I'm gonna have to leave. We had
Oh,
a major
sorry.
accident
Yep.
at Carlson and Manitou.
okay,
Okay.
good luck.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, be safe.
Yeah,
Not doing here, so.
no,
So I reached out to Susan Hock.
uh-huh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, from Leland, yep.
Yeah, township.
Yeah, and said, do you have any luck with it? And she was just like, she wasn't pleased with it at all. She had the same trouble I did, and actually where she's like, and then people were complaining about, why are you doing that? Why is this breaking? She said, she just kind of gave up on it. Dave Miller from Suns Bay had good luck with it, and I made circle back to him, because he seemed to have
Yeah,
okay with it, but
yeah, because Strike Thomas
Yeah.
is still concerned about that. Like, I did go there at nighttime, and because the stop sign is reflective, which is so obvious, but did not think about that. I mean,
Yeah.
you definitely can see the stop sign when
Oh,
you come up at
yeah.
night. It is not that you can't, which is what he was concerned with.
you
But
know,
then, I mean, Cindy was saying that the same thing happens to her house, because the
Oh,
light
yeah.
is higher up and it comes right in. So I'm not sure what we can
I-
offer as relief. I
yeah,
mean,
what I see actually is, forget the fact that you can control lights and play with all that, just shield the damn things.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Just get a downward shield.
That
and-
ice cube trays.
Yep, yeah, the ice cube trays do help, people laugh, but if there was also a skirt now that they say they are offering. So that's one of my questions for Doug DeYoung.
yeah,
Okay,
just
To see if there's
he
something
can do
new and
that.
improved out there, because I think that would really do it. And we still, this fall, I really hope to get those light bollards, speaking of lights, out on Hazard.
Mhm.
We need to get those other poles out of there, so. You gotta go, Dave?
What's that?
You gotta go?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's,
Anyhow, so we obviously let him get on with the stuff with water rates. That kind of runs it out for me. I'm battling them.
Yeah. So the water rates we talked about, the previous two meetings, and what I've typed up is kind of what we've discussed. Just kind of running through again that the funds we're bringing in is the funds we're spending, and we need to be sure we're building up our fund instead of just draining it every time. One thing that I did want to be sure that the people were aware of, which you guys definitely already are, but the water fund repairs and maintenance and land improvements is already over budget by $7,571.69. So when you look at what we have coming in as revenue and expenses, know that right now it's probably already going to require an amendment, and because we've spent more than we're probably going to bring in. When you look at the revenues, there's some that comes from the millage, there's the 2% for that, and different things that are funding it. When you break it down and you're looking at just the sales, it's around that 85,000. And then the battery cost, looking at that every 10 to 15, just so that there's an understanding of what that number comes out to, so that we see right now that's coming out of the regular fund. So when you look at our current rates, I've got those in here. And the proposed, we had talked last time, Chris, and I'm not sure if he was here last time either, but about doing both the usage and the ready to serve flat, because we're well under the average of $32.05 a month for the area, and that would help bring up the revenues significantly, whereas the usage, if we increase only usage, it only was going to bring in an additional $3,000 a year, Chris. So anyway, so I've got that looking at it, and I've done it in a 5-year if we were to continue increasing. One, because I think that would make it easier for us. We don't have to remember to do it every time if we've got it scheduled out, as well as to try and get to that average and build up the amount that would actually be helpful to fund CIP and be sure we're covering these emergency issues like the $7,571 that happened. That's a way that we can see how much we would get, which if you run these numbers through, if we go with what is proposed here, which is what we discussed last time, the battery fund balance after 5 years would be $42,069 approximately, obviously, because our connections are always, we lose some, get some, all these things. And the sales revenue increase obviously would be substantial if we do this. And the overall net, if we were to do this, from what I can tell from the numbers, is that we would have an increase of about $169,000 over what we are currently doing if we go with this proposal for the 5-year term. Obviously, we don't have to do a 5-year. We also don't have to do it with these number of increases, because if you add them all together in 5 years, that means we're increasing at a substantial percentage. But even then, when you look at it, we don't get to the 2021 average cost for water rates per month until the year 2026. And that's from 2021. So, I mean, to me, by the time they do another study, I highly doubt it's going to be that number again. So, I don't know.
So, and then you're talking a 2% increase on connection tap-in fee?
Yes, and we don't have to do that. The only reason I'm thinking that is because obviously labor costs and everything and everything is going to continue going up. When you look in the community, in the region, like Sutton's Bay is 3,500, Empire's is like, I think theirs was like 3,000. So I mean, most people were less than, but then if you go to like, say, Traverse City, theirs is only $900. So, I mean, I feel like, and the Gosling-Zubik study did not have that in there. And if you think it should be a different number, Chris, I am totally fine with that. I just was trying to pick something so that it doesn't say stagnant the whole time.
Yep. Well, it used to be, it would start at 12 and
Yeah, I was at
increase.
1,200 and we have increased it. And Joni will tell you that what we charge for what we pay out in a hookup is usually lots of times more than what we
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't.
Well, and that's one of the things, so there is an interesting thing that I saw, I just didn't include it in this because we hadn't talked about it yet, but both Sutton's Bay and Traverse City have a disclaimer asterisk with the cost, that if the cost exceeds the cost charged, that you are responsible for the remainder.
Yeah, we've talked about that, and I know some people balk at it. Or we, go for a bigger percentage increase, but that might not be a bad policy to do.
The asterisk?
Because sometimes it's pretty straightforward to hook up. Again, use Cal as an example, get in and do it. and it doesn't exceed that. Other times, Jason pointed out there,
Yeah.
deep dig, dewatering,
Long run.
you know, all of a sudden you're at 4,000.
Yeah,
Oh,
which,
geez,
I mean,
Like ours.
which really isn't,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that is fairer to the general public, because what's happening instead is that your tax dollars are going to put in somebody else's water connection. I mean, and I
Yeah,
just didn't include it because we hadn't talked, so I was like, I don't know, maybe not.
yeah, but it's, I think it's something to consider.
Yeah, well, so what I can do is I can throw that disclaimer, because I mean, both Traverse City and Suttons Bay had that disclaimer on there, and I could just copy and paste theirs.
And, you know, see what the general.
And see what
again,
people, see what everybody else says on the council, yeah.
So according to this chart, you've got that, the final quarter of the fiscal year, we.
Yeah, so what I was thinking is that we would raise it, the 10% to the 39.60 for the flat rate for the quarter. But then in the future, going forward, always do the fee schedule and increases when the fiscal year starts.
Okay.
So that it's easier for customers to understand and expect when that's coming, as well as then when we approve the budget, we can approve the fee schedule at the same time. And the fee schedule for this, I know, is in the ordinance, but they put it on the fee schedule, finance puts it on the fee schedule also, and I just think it would be easier if it was happening at the same time.
Sure.
But I also don't think that we should just wait for that. I think that since we know that we're already over budget, I think that we should probably start it now. And then,
I have a question.
yeah,
Why, on the other side, rate per 1,000 gallons, why, if 1,000 gallons is 1,000 gallons, why does it cost more if you have a bigger pipe?
I don't know that. I just know that that's what it is now. Do you know?
That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Well, they have the potential, usually if.
But this is actually metered, so it's not potential, it's the actual use. Shouldn't they be the same?
Because you're right, 1,000 gallons, whether it's an.
1,000 gallons, if you go to the gas tank and or gas pump and you pump 1,000 gallons, should it cost more if you have a bigger nozzle on your truck?
Well, and right now,
Well, I think what it is that, what you say, Dave, too, is that generally if we have a 2 or 3 inch line going in there, bigger than an inch, they're more likely to use overall, but you're still right, 1,000 gallons is 1,000 gallons, it comes out this big or that big,
Yeah, you're right.
right?
Right,
and,
so I think they should be the same.
Don't have an answer for that.
well, and right now, am I correct that we have
Based on-
345, 33/4 to 1 inch lines, and then the rest is, we have 379 total. 345 of those are the 3/4 to 1 inch, I believe.
That's standard, usually the 2
Yep,
and 3
and then the
inch
rest,
are
these
commercial.
are all the other sizes.
Yeah.
So there's not very many people that are in that scenario, but I understand what you're saying.
If I was one of those people, I
Want it to be the same.
And it actually,
Yeah.
it's
doesn't seem fair.
not
Do we get-
residents that have.
Right.
Yeah, it's not residences, those are all businesses.
I get it.
Yeah.
Let's say MPG, you know, run a 2 inch like school, you know, so, but 1,000 gallons, and I don't know if that rate came from Michigan Rural Water, AWWA, and this we probably.
Well, and in the Gosling Zubik study, there's no differential,
Yeah.
like they just do the, they don't
Right.
have, yeah, they don't explain if some communities do
Yeah.
different or not.
I
So,
think we should get rid of it.
yeah, and move it to, I mean, I presume it's probably not necessarily that much, like financially, I don't think that the difference is going to be huge if we were to move them all to the
20
same.
cents now for, you know, so.
Yeah, I mean, if you need to make it $1.42 to make it come, to make the math come out.
Right.
Put everybody at the same rate.
Yeah, if we just raise
I'd be in
everybody's a
favor
little
of
bit.
that.
Okay,
And there's a little, you could do a little math there, or you could just
yeah,
wing it and go 140 and see if you're short.
yeah.
Well, you'd have to crunch the numbers to see.
That's what I can do, because I didn't
Yeah.
split those out, but I know that I can, because Joni has that data. So, because this is all obviously gathered from information that she was able to pull together, different reports.
It might just be $1.50. You know, I mean,
Yeah, like
because
start from-
because
I was
those 4-inch
thinking-
lines are gonna be a lot, so a lot of the overall use, so, yeah.
just
Yeah,
move
take the average
You
of
could
those
guess
two.
it's half,
Yeah,
so like if you
Well,
went
and a half
$1.50
into the-
starting and then
easy to compute.
go from there.
So,
she can definitely break it down, and I can be sure, I'll double check it, but I don't disagree either, that if it's water, it's water.
I like all the rest of it, I like the battery service fee, I mean, this is all good to go,
Okay,
in my opinion, it's
Yep.
just something we should recommend.
Okay.
With maybe
with
some
the
minor
couple
changes,
changes,
yeah.
yeah. So the one thing that I like too is that the reason I put it out separate is that if you look, I mean, our every 10 to 15 year cost average right now for batteries is $66,325 to $113,700, depending on somewhere in that range. And even with this, and I know people don't ever want their rates to go up, but you can see that even with these increases, we're not even going to be meeting that number. So I mean, we got to do it.
Yeah.
So.
And
I also, you know, with all the CIP we have that we're going to be working on being sure it's all integrated into planning so that we can start getting these mains replaced and hydrants replaced and these things on the CIP happening with funding being looked for. Even this number and these increases isn't necessarily going to pay for it. Obviously, we're still going to have to be tons of grants and all these things, but I think that it's a good step in the right direction, and if we get into it in a couple of years and we realize it needs to be adjusted again, obviously that's what we're here for, is to look at it and figure it out. So, okay.
Yeah.
And Joni looked at this, but did not have feedback at this time, and I told her if she had some, obviously, to let us know, and we can look at it again.
One thing, just trying to think of, in the different pricing of the different size meters.
Mm-hmm.
Cost. 4-inch meter is a lot more expensive than a 1-inch meter, so is the pipe. So something to consider, maybe that's why.
Maybe that's where it came from, was because of the cost of installation?
Not only installation.
Or replacement?
Yeah, replacement.
Because it's a 1-inch meter, we're paying.
Yeah,
Or
1-inch
something.
meter, you're paying,
And that's the cost.
But your flat rate is already much higher for the different sizes, and we're not saying we're taking that away, it's just the usage.
Yeah, let's keep the differentiation on the flat rate, and that makes more sense.
Well, because, and to me, the flat rate is what's covering your ready to serve is what's, in my mind, that's what's covering your, like, maintenance of the line. And the usage is paying for the water. Yeah. So.
Yeah, 3 to 4 inch meter is about triple the cost.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost exponential how it's.
Well, and one other thing that you'll note is that I have it as the 10% increase just so that we can try and get closer to our average and start building up that fund. But then I reduced it to 5. But obviously, if we get down the road and we see that the average for everybody is really going up or it's still not covering enough, we could, go back. I just am trying, because I don't want somebody to go, oh, in 5 years, we're gonna have a 50% increase. Like, that's hard to swallow, I think. So even if but I think it's better to do it this way than to have to not increase it or do it too small, and then you have to do it all at once, or you don't have any other choices. So, okay. Well, I'll adjust and edit this with the asterisk for the cost exceeding, and then combining the usage so that all of them are the same rate. And we'll be adding that battery fee. I do have it as a restricted fund. I think it should be, considering what our cost is.
I know Joni wasn't a fan, but she's, we're saying.
And then the same thing, Chris, if you have thoughts on the curb stop on-off or the emergency curb stop, when I look in other communities, this wasn't in the study either, some communities are much less than us, and then other communities are way more. So I don't really know, and to me, I just, again, felt like leaving it stagnant doesn't make a lot of sense when obviously labor costs are always going to increase with inflation, and so are other things. So, but if you think that needs to be more or less.
Well, we started out, when I started here, Dave, we were at $40 for anything up shut off. We didn't really have any language saying that if it was an emergency, somebody called for an emergency.
Well, and one of the
things
that they had too, that I noticed some other communities, the cost again varied widely, but some had emergency curb shut-offs that were during work hours, and then an emergency shut-off that was during non-working hours, which they clarified was nighttime and weekends. So that was one thing that I didn't know if we want to consider, but because obviously then you're more likely to be paying overtime, I think, is just in terms of the cost side.
Case in point, the post office on a Sunday in February. I mean, it took us an hour just to thaw to get to it, so that money got enough like that. So, I think having language so somebody could come and you could say, well, this is.
So what do you think that one should start at? If our regular emergency is 140, how much more do you think it should be if it's not during normal hours?
Oh, I thought the emergency would just be not during normal hours, and the other time we get a regular fee.
Right now, we're at 140 is our normal fee, correct?
No, that's for
No,
emergency.
curbs, just
$50.
so if you
Still
call
40.
and, yeah, so
You get
it's
50.
50, it's 50. If you
Yeah.
call and like you say,
Arrange
I'm
it.
going away, like
Yep.
turn off the water
Call.
whenever you
Yep.
can.
Tomorrow
Yeah.
I'm leaving, okay, we'll schedule it for tomorrow, 1 o'clock.
Yeah, and then the
It's
emergency was you call because there is serious water
Issue.
leakage
Water
or
in the
problems.
house, yeah.
And so it's not a scheduled, they have to stop everything
And
and
if
go.
it's,
And my understanding is that if it's an emergency, it's an emergency. It doesn't matter if it's in working or not working, does it, or it doesn't?
yeah, it's, emergencies always happen in the bad time.
Yeah.
We should talk about price on that, I mean,
I think if it's during working hours, it should just be the regular rate, but that's just my opinion. I mean, you may have to put down what you're doing and run across town, but it's not like waking you up at 2 in the morning.
right, or, yeah. So I think anything after working hours, which would, I want to say from 5 PM, 7 AM.
So what we could do is just rename these. It could be curb stop on off during normal hours, curb stop on off emergency or otherwise, but not during working hours
Right.
is the 140.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
why don't you just make it 150, it's $100 more.
Exactly.
Your sleep is worth $100 to me.
Yeah. Well, and it won't just be him, that's the thing too, is that usually it's not just you,
Usually
right?
two
Like,
of us.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, well, and that's why to me, it's really hard to gauge what the average is, because all the communities I found, like I said, it was wildly varying and it's not in the study. So like, there isn't somebody else that I can look to, so. Okay. Well, perfect, well, I'll revise those and then I will ask to have that on council's agenda so that we can have that happening for the final quarter. That makes sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Just one quick thing on the Main and Waukesha, I know you did Main and Waukesha, the water retention, the water rain garden thing.
Yeah.
That got sent to Ross also, Will.
oh, the language for.
Yeah, it did, and that got forwarded to Sarah Uren, and so, because he had some questions that needed answered, and so he revised some of it that he said was not how it should be. And
Yeah,
then he had some questions that she would need to get back to him, and Joni said just forward it to her, so I did. So she has that, and whenever she has those revisions and answers, then obviously,
yeah, one of the concerns was, say the property sells.
Yep.
And then new owners come and go, well, agreements. So I think it's just going through the language and what obligations and responsibilities are. Also, they didn't have a clear, ask Don and Sarah about MDOT has to be aware and involved, so I guess we're kind of waiting for a little bit of feedback from them
yeah.
on signage, so.
Okay.
But all in all,
Then- The 4th Street drainage update, you and Chet talked to both Dr. Chris Grobel and attorney Stacy Hassan, is
Yep,
that right?
yep.
Okay,
And again, we're kind of keep those, let's stay the course of presenting to DEQ. They're kind of back there, they're gonna be a backup if things go.
Mhm.
so which one are we presenting though? Or-
I would say Chris Grohl will be the next one to.
No, I mean,
Oh,
which
we're
plan are we
presenting
presenting to
plan?
Eagle?
Because
Because we hadn't decided yet, because we were gonna talk
Yeah.
to see what their feedback was, and Chet said, oh, Chris talked to them too, so he can tell you. So,
Well, yeah, sure.
yeah, uh-huh.
The last iteration of that plan from Brian and Newhoff is the one that they just gave me to Eagle. I don't know where Eric Siegman is at with that. So, he was on.
So that was a minor one, that was a small, the $10,000
Yep.
project, okay.
Yep, so, that's
Well,
where we were.
and, because both of the people you talked to would be willing to work with us, right? It's just
Yeah,
obviously there would be fees.
Yeah,
So-
there'd be fees, yeah, she's at $350 an hour, I don't know
Jesus.
what Chris is at.
Probably less.
Yeah, but I think we agreed to let's start soft.
Okay,
So,
so that was their
so-
recommendation
Yep,
then? Yeah.
yep. So, but they seem to be, if we need them, they're available.
Okay, well, I'll touch base with Eric and be sure that he's working
Yeah,
on
and
moving
let's see
that
where he's
forward
at
and he
with
can
the-
connect with you.
Mhm.
So, and then we'll see where that goes from there, because I think that there's definitely value long-term, because we're not gonna solve everybody's problems with the we're gonna solve very few problems. It's better to solve some than nothing, but, but I definitely think we're gonna wanna keep moving forward to see what other options we have. Okay.
I don't have that.
Okay, well, I'll shoot an email to Eric and
Yeah,
see
see
and
where
make sure he's connecting with you. The Rose Street culvert, I do have a bit of an update. We talked about it some at Finance. It's going to be on the agenda again to work on some of those grants that I have found. And I also got a contact through Chet, Robert Carson, who's the Community Development Regional Director for Network Northwest.
Okay.
And they do assist communities, village governments and city governments with assistance for researching and writing grants as a service that they will provide. However, each request that a government makes is individually reviewed to be approved for them to assist us or not. And so I'm back and forth with him seeing what information he needs from me. So there may be more things we need on Rose Street or 4th Street for him to be able to determine if they can help us with writing those grants or not. But I'm really happy that there's at least somebody and that it potentially wouldn't cost us anything also. So
Did they mention anything about coastal cities?
no, because what they were doing, what I was talking to them is like, will you help assist? Is it possible for you to help us with writing or researching grants? And he said yes, but it's a case by case for every single time. So even if they help us on one project, they might not help us on another. And I said, okay, what do you need on each of the projects to get that? And that's what I'm waiting for.
Okay,
and I tried calling him before I came and got his voicemail again. So, but obviously all of that is better than no updates. So I'm hoping that there's a possibility we could get some assistance on those.
Avenue out there somewhere where we can get some help with that.
Right, exactly, and that's why I'm hopeful that, this is definitely further. And then with Finance, they all have agreed now that Finance will help with writing them or getting someone to help write with them if we have ones that we think might be viable. So
yeah, I can't remember the one name, and they considered Rose Street culvert utility, and even Eric from Prime Newhall couldn't get his head around that. How is that considered a utility? So
yeah.
He said, so he was going to kind of try to get a little firmer definition of that.
Yeah.
It's not utility.
Yeah.
It's not. You think of a utility as water, sewer, gas, so on and so on. So that's
okay. And then Hazard Beach, you're going to resubmit, so we'll just go from there. The Old Mill Pond, you gave us that update. We're waiting for them back. One thing I will say is at PC, there is some progress happening on the survey. Ann, who is here, had public comment wanting us not to get too specific in details with a survey about master plan, and had concerns over adding Mill Pond questions to that. But from my perspective, my thought of what we're going to include is not necessarily do you love Mill Pond or not, it is in the master plan. All of our rec facilities are there, and so it's just kind of some general questions over that. So we're still looking at that. The sidewalk ordinance, because I have so many other things I was trying to work on and I had a crazy month, I do not have that ready yet, but I will hopefully next time.
And I've got a map, older map that if you need to look at.
Okay, I think I have it from Chet, but I am happy to look and be sure that I have everything. And then the M201 also I do not have done because I have not had time. So yeah, so it will be coming soon because I'm getting through a bunch of these things and trying to get caught up, and it's been really crazy with all the things happening. And as you know, I've got, I get ready for finance and planning too. So, unless anybody has anything else, public comment. Yeah, public comment will be next. We don't have anybody in person, so Zoom, if you are ready, Ann, go ahead.
It is sometimes a little hard to hear and follow the back and forth. So just to get a summary, what you're planning to do related to Marcia's property, is that going to push water through the pathway that comes in front of the 4th Street homes.
Yeah.
Yes, it would connect to that
And
line.
it's not gonna be, I don't know what the hydraulics of it are, per cubic foot per second, but it shouldn't be that much more, and.
Okay, well, just to alert you to the fact that, of course, no one has cleaned out the, whatever you call it, in front of our house all year. And
Yep.
so the growth of vegetation is quite significant. So if you're expecting a lot of water to flow through there, I would just want to give you a heads up that perhaps that needs to be cleaned out before
I do say be cautious though, because Eric said that
Yeah.
Robin at Eagle was concerned with people even doing
Oh,
that at this
yeah,
time,
it's
so,
such a,
yeah.
Anyway, I mean, I would certainly like to know when it's going to happen. So, and I'm sure others on the street would also like to know if there's going to be some big influx of water down the street or, because it's open flow for a
Yeah.
good bit of the way, particularly on part of our property. There's an open section and then there's the diversion under the street. And I'm sure the Steffens and others would want to know as
Yeah.
well. And then my understanding from what I heard you saying is that you are going forward to get an Eagle permit to do the smaller job here instead of the bigger one. Is that what you've decided to do?
For now.
that's where we're at, I think, for now.
Okay. That's kind of what I heard last month, and now it's been another 30 days, so.
No, last month, what we wanted to do was contact the Chris Grobels, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah,
Stacy
we didn't make a
Hassan,
decision last month.
which they have done.
Okay,
And the verdict from them, I'm sorry if it wasn't clear, but the verdict from both of them was to start with a soft approach. And they both are willing to help by doing the smaller plan first and then going from there. And they both were willing to help with getting the designation changed, but that would cost money. So
Yeah.
obviously we would have to pay them to assist us. So that's something we can look to as we continue forward, and as he's working with Eagle and gets more feedback on the smaller plan, that also can give us more information as to what Eagle's going to say, because then we'll know.
Right.
all right. I will stay tuned. Thank you very much for clarifying that. One last comment. I heard you talking about tree stumps. I did some research on this a while ago, and there's a lot of environmental people who think that it's really best to let the tree stumps revert to the soil naturally wherever possible, unless they, undermined a building or, something like that. So I would certainly be in favor of letting the tree stumps rot naturally over time and fill in rather than digging them out. Just one person's opinion.
Yeah.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public comment out there? Okay,
I will move to adjourn.
there we go. Then we will adjourn at 2:18.
Great.
Thank you.
That's what Eric says. One problem with some of those stumps,
Well,
we'll never live long enough to see them.
Yeah.
they
No,
actually do.
When
You
you
know,
grind them,
all you do is grind them.
Yeah.
But most of the
It
stuff
leaves
is
most of the
still in
roots
the
there,
ground,
yeah.
so which deteriorates naturally, so.
that whole thing, remember years back, I mean, you got this, you drill holes under that. My neighbor
Yeah, I
did
did that.
My neighbor didn't have any luck with that.
Oh, I drilled holes and then poured kerosene in the holes and lit it on fire. That worked.
Yeah, that, I did that too.
Not exactly environmentally friendly.
Well,
Yeah, he tried this special stuff and it's like, pissing in the wind.
Yeah.
All right,
Very good.
Bradley, I gotta talk to Brad.
Yes, first responders aren't back.
So, he's gone, okay, you're gonna shut.
Yeah.
Yeah.